In our last lesson today, we're going to talk about using something called a layer mask. Some people are not fans of layer masks because they would rather just use the eraser tool and get rid of part of their graphic altogether. But I think that a layer mask can be a really powerful tool because what if you aren't sure? You're not sure if you want to erase something entirely, and that's where a layer mask can be very helpful. So we're actually going to use our layer mask on the flower layer, and what we're trying to mask is our green leaves here. So the green leaves are slightly distracting, but I'm not sure that we want to delete them entirely. So we want to see what our graphic could look like if we were to remove the leaves. So the first thing that we need to do is target our roses layer. And then we are going to click up on our menu bar and go to Layer, Layer Mask, Reveal All. So once again, I'm just going to repeat those instructions. Make sure you target the roses layer. Go up to your menu bar, choose Layer, Layer Mask, Reveal All. When you click that, what happens is you get a white thumbnail that is next to your roses on your roses layer. And what that is going to be is where we do our layer mask. Now, in order for us to do this layer mask, we have to make sure that our foreground and background colors are black over white. Now, mine are black over white at this point, but in case yours are not, do you see right above the upper left corner of your foreground color that you have a smaller two squares that look like your foreground and background color? That is called the default. So if you click on those, it's going to put white over black. And then that little arrow that is right next to it, that will switch your foreground and background colors. So I want my foreground color to be black. That has to be that way. Okay, make sure that your foreground color is black. Then what we want to do is grab our brush tool. So our brush tool is in the second section on our toolbar. It literally looks like a little paintbrush. So go ahead and click on your brush tool. And then your brush tool, let's go up to the options bar. The very first drop-down menu here, where it has a little circle and says 32, this is called our brush preset picker. So, excuse me, Photoshop has thousands of different brushes that you can choose from. But essentially what we want to do is look at the size and then also the hardness. So we're going to set our size at 15 pixels. And then we're going to set our hardness. We're going to leave our hardness at 30. The hardness just is talking about how soft the edge of the brush is. So again, are you going to get a blended edge, or are you going to be really distinct and smooth? So what we want to do now that we have our brush set is we're going to grab our zoom tool and just zoom in so that that green leaf is kind of large and in charge, so to speak, on our, in our screen. So I'm going to make that just a little bit smaller, and then I'm going to grab my brush. So a couple of things that I need to point out to you. One, make sure that the white thumbnail is selected. The reason you can see that it's selected is you have these little white lines that go around the corners. That means you're working on that thumbnail. 2, you need to make sure that your foreground color is black. And 3, make sure that your brush is selected. And then it's quite simple, actually. So you just go out onto your graphic, and we're just clicking and holding and painting away, so to speak, our green area of our leaf. And so what we're going to do is we're just masking this away. I'm going to show you how to get down into that little crevice here in a second. I'm just tracing around where I need to, getting rid of my green. And then I'm just going to come and clean that edge up. So this is actually good practice because we will eventually be using our brushes quite a bit when we do our cutouts, which is one of our last units that we do. If, remember, you bump anything, don't be afraid to grab your history panel, and then you can work your way back with your brush tool if you need to. But remember, you only have 20 states to work with. Okay, if you need to get down into that little crevice right there, what you can do is change the size of your brush. So some people will go up to their brush preset picker and adjust the size here. One of my favorite tips with the brush tool is to actually use your bracket keys on your keyboard. Your bracket keys are right next to the backslash, kind of below the backspace key. The left bracket will make your brush smaller, and the right bracket will make it bigger. So I'm just going to use my left bracket to make my brush smaller, and then just go right down in there and get rid of that little bit of green that was kind of sticking up. And then to do the rest of this, I'm just going to make my brush nice and big and brush all of it off. Now remember, the reason we can do this is because we are only targeting the rose layer. None of our other parts of our layers, like the Colosseum or the couple picture, are getting brushed out because we're not on that layer. So it's a really handy dandy little tool. We're just going to brush all that off. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. All gone. And then you can grab your hand tool and move down, because we do have this small spot kind of right behind the words, the Roman holiday. We do just want to get rid of that little bit of green as well. You can kind of see how it's a very soft edge. It's not very hard. That has to do with that hardness preset that we picked. Okay, so I'm going to double click my hand tool to get a look at what our picture looks like without those green leaves. Now, if we had done our eraser tool, I probably have, if I look at my history panel, almost 20 states in my brush. So I very easily, if I wanted to bring that back, I could. But if I had gone more than that, parts of my image would be gone forever. With a layer mask, I always have the ability to see what my object looks like with and without. So what you can do to see what it looks like with and without is to hold your shift key down and click on our layer mask thumbnail. When you do that, it's going to put a red X through the layer mask, and our leaves will pop back up. If we wanted to, we can click off of that and our leaves will disappear again. If you want to view just the layer mask, you can hold your Alt key down and click on the layer mask, and that's going to show you what that looks like. So I just want to point out kind of the softer edge here. That's that hardness of the brush, so it's not very smooth, which is just fine. And then essentially how a layer mask work is black is hidden and white is being able to be seen. So on a layer mask, you can actually use a gray color, and also create kind of a transparent effect, which can be kind of cool. I encourage you, if you have time, if you finish an assignment early, to kind of play around with it, because it's kind of a cool thing to try doing. So then to get back to your graphic, you just click on your layer and it pops right back. So hopefully that worked well for you. If not, try going back through and just listening really carefully, maybe watch instead of doing it at the same time. That can kind of be helpful. And then you can go ahead and start working on your Unit C Photoshop assignments.